Welcome to Hong Kong Confidential. I'm Jules Hannaford and I'm your host. I'm an Australian woman and I've been living in Hong Kong for many years. I'm a mother, a teacher, an author, and I want to share my wisdom and the wisdom of others with you. Thanks for joining me and I hope you enjoy the show. Hi confidants. I'd like to say thank you to Ozcast Network for inviting me to join the coolest podcast network in Australia. It's a real honour to be here and thank you so much for tuning in to listen to Hong Kong Confidential. I also want to say thank you to the lads from Yeah G'day for the shout out that they gave me this week on their podcast. It's a lovely welcome and it feels great to be here. I want to say thank you to my very first Patreon patron, Loretta, all the way from Clare in South Australia. Thank you so much, Loretta, for sponsoring my podcast. And if anyone else would like to check out my Patreon page, here's some more information for you. Hi, confidants. I want to tell you about my Patreon page. I've joined Patreon in the hope of getting sponsorship for my Hong Kong Confidential podcast. Patreon is a great way for my listeners to get on board and sponsor me with monthly payments, and that goes towards my production costs and rewards for my members. If you're interested in checking out my Patreon page, please go to patreon.com and search up Jules Hannaford or Hong Kong Confidential. I would really appreciate you visiting my page. Today I'm here with Ariadna Peretz. Hi Ariadna, thanks for meeting me today. How are you?
Hi Jules, I'm great.
Can you tell me a little bit about your company Maitre D'ate? What is it and what do you do?
The company Maitre D'ate is a matchmaking agency and date concierge. We help Hong Kong singles meet and connect on a deep and meaningful level.
Oh, that sounds nice. And how long have you been doing this?
I started building a database of Hong Kong eligible singles in late 2015 while I was still working full-time at a PR agency, and I began doing this full-time at the end of 2016, so about a year full-time.
So you've been full-time matchmaking for a year, just in Hong Kong?
Yes, my focus is Hong Kong. I have a small database of singles in Singapore. And now that I live in London, I've been building a small database of London singles, but my main priority is Hong Kong.
So you're going to go global, but you started out in Hong Kong, is that right?
You know what? I would rather not go global. I hate living. Maybe there's people in London listening to this, but really, I don't care for London. I love Hong Kong. I have a lot of empathy for Hong Kong singles because Hong Kong's a terrible place if you're single and you don't want to be single. So my focus, if I could just focus on Hong Kong, that would be the ideal situation.
So tell me a bit more about that. Why is Hong Kong such a difficult place to meet people and to date?
Hong Kong is a special kind of hell for singles who don't want to be single, for several reasons. First of all, we have the discrepancy. We have more women than men, so it's difficult for the women. And it's also difficult for the men because I think they get kind of, when they move to Hong Kong, they're like a child in a candy store. There's just too much selection and it can affect their judgment. Then there's no such thing as life-work balance here. Everyone's working really hard, crazy hours, sometimes working evenings, doing lots of conference calls in the evenings, sometimes working on the weekends, and lots of travel, both for work and pleasure. And so tons of happy hours, lots of networking events. And so it's really difficult to get two eligible singles that seem to match in Hong Kong at the same time. Yeah, there's lots of issues here.
Yeah, so you talk about the men being spoilt for choice and having so many women to choose from. So do you think that means that they're less likely to want to settle down and have a partnership because they can keep playing around, for the want of a better word?
Yeah, so at the beginning, I think that's the case. But eventually, hooking up and casual dating, it's not satisfying that desire to be known and to know someone on a deep and meaningful level. And so they stop being interested. Old habits die hard. Is that how you say it?
Correct.
Okay. And I guess it's a double entendre. But so it's fun, but eventually they do want to settle down. They do want to start a family. They do want to have a significant other that they can cuddle on Sunday nights, hungover, order pizza. and just do mundane things. You can't really do that with someone that you've only dated for a week.
Yeah, so it's about building relationships rather than just casual dating or casual sex, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. So a lot of people are really focused. A lot of people are looking for the perfect lover, but really it's finding a good person and building a perfect, well, nothing's perfect, but like perfect as can be love.
And do you think that the complaint comes more from women than men, that dating is ridiculously difficult in Hong Kong, or do you think both sides have the same feeling?
I think they have the same feeling for different reasons, but it can be just as hard because there's the Hong Kong bachelor has a bad reputation, but those are just some of the guys. We only see some of the guys. There's a ton of great guys who would make great boyfriends and husbands and lovers, but we just don't see them because they're not flashy. They're not peacocking.
Right. And what is peacocking? Tell me a bit more about that.
I guess that's another double entendre. Peacocking is like strutting your stuff, always ordering the champagne, bottle service, flashy watch, really well dressed. And, they can be like that and still be great guys, but a lot of the flashy guys
and not so down to earth.
Yeah, and they're not the right guys to be building a relationship with. But because we're so distracted by this bling, we don't see the normal guys, the casual guys, the cool guys that aren't so flashy, but would make great boyfriends.
And do you think that flashy lifestyle is something that happens all over the world? Or do you think it's really indicative of Hong Kong and the fast-paced lifestyle and the money that's here and and multiculturalism and the fact that it's one of the biggest business cities in Asia? Do you think that plays into that fact? Or?
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah, it's worse, isn't it?
Yeah. And the fact that someone had mentioned, since we're all about halfway around the world from our parents, we don't have responsibilities. We don't have to go home for Sunday dinner. We can just party all night.
Yeah. So the hangover can last all day on a Sunday and you don't have family responsibilities. That's interesting. I've never thought of that. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about your success rates in your matchmaking company?
Sure. So how do you, so before I give you my success rate, how would you define success?
I guess for me, I imagine if I was running a dating company, success would be somebody that has a number of dates with somebody and some sort of connection. Doesn't have to be, I guess your success rate might be, long-term relationship, moving in, marriage. But then success could also be somebody who's happily made new friends and new connections and has had a few lovely dates.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I haven't had anyone get married yet.
Okay.
But I've had people being in love. I've had people, date for a couple of years. This is before I started my company, so when I was just doing matchmaking for fun. But then since I started the company, I've had people dating for months at a time. Falling for each other. Also, I think part of my success is going through deal breakers and criteria and helping people realize that what's a deal breaker actually isn't so much a deal breaker. It's a preference more than a deal breaker. And if you have fewer deal breakers, your pool is bigger.
That's really interesting that you say that. And for the listener out there, I've actually had an interview with Ariadna a long time ago to join the dating agency, and one of my deal breakers was height.
Yeah.
And I'm 6 foot tall and I won't date anyone shorter than me. Yeah. And it's just not something I can get my head around, but I really do recognize that if I was able to change that way of thinking, the pool would be much, much larger that I could choose from. So you did certainly get me thinking about it, but my stance hasn't changed, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Yeah. I think only in the US, only 20% of the population is over 6 foot tall. So
Really? Yeah, in the US?
In the US.
And here it's about 2%. So we're really limited.
But, I'm not here to say you're right or wrong, but if I can help people be more flexible on things, then yeah. But you might be flexible on a ton of other things.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what they are, but maybe. So do you match people through your questionnaire and the interview that you do with them, or do you use algorithms, or do you use some sort of program, or is it instinctive?
Yeah, so I don't use an algorithm. It's based on, the profile selection that I do with everyone. It's getting to know them. So you are added to my database, but if you become a matchmaking client, we do a lot of exercises to really drill down on what you really want. And then if the man that you want or the woman that you want is the type of person that wants you, and we'll see if there's any gaps that need to be addressed. And then comes the matching, and it's, based on what you want, the way you see the world, If you want children, that's like a deal breaker that you can't really get flexible on. Also, it's a bit of instinct as well. So the vocabulary that you use, the gestures that you use, there's an element
whole category
of that, as well.
that you look at.
Yeah.
And what's your main demographic? Is it 30-somethings, 40-somethings, Asians, Western? What's the Hong Kong demographic that you have mostly on your books?
So I would say that it would be 30s. So for guys, I don't work with men under 32.
Why is that? They're not ready?
I don't
Too immature?
Yeah, I don't think they should be ready to like settle down. I'm trying to help people have a committed, you can have a committed relationship when you're in your 20s, but they can explore on their own. They don't have to. I think they can explore on their own. But in their 30s, in the 30s and 40s are like that's my sweet spot. And it's a bit of expats or Asian, but a lot of the Asians are Asian ethnicity, but they've grown up in the US or Canada, Australia, UK.
And why did you decide to get into this business? What motivated you to become a matchmaker?
Because there's no love in Hong Kong. There's way too much hooking up. There's way too much casual sex, which is great. But there's no love. And so I just was talking to my single friends, and they wanted to be in relationships. And my coolest friends, my most interesting and most social friends, were the ones that I would find were the least relationship. How do you call it? Like
successful, least successful in relationships.
Less successful in relationships. And so I thought, well, I can do this.
So did you start off by helping your friends?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's
colleagues.
So cool.
I did an MBA here, so people in my MBA and friends and friends of friends, and then it just kind of like expanded.
That's brilliant. What do you offer your clients with your matchmaking packages?
So that's a good question. I've got lots of line items. I can go through them one by one, but basically it's 3 steps. The first one is to understand what you want. So it's like the deal breakers, the preferences, what kind of attachment style you are, so what kind of attachment style you need. I also do this, we go through like past dating patterns to understand the types of people that you've dated in the past. If you're a straight man, I'll ask you about your relationship with your mom. If you're a straight woman, I'll ask you about your relationship with your dad. So it's really understanding what the person wants, because a lot of people know what they don't want, but they don't know what they want. And when you put it in black and white, actually like write it down on paper, it makes it really easy. And so you can always go back to it and be like, okay, well, you've fallen for this guy in the past, but he's not good for you. So after we understand what the person wants and I understand it, then it's to bridge any gaps that there might be, because the person that you want has to want you.
Yeah, exactly. And what happens if you match 2 people and then they find that one's really keen and one's not? And what advice do you give to your clients about rejecting somebody or not stalking someone? How do you manage that?
So before the date ever happens with the matchmaking client, we'll kind of like do a little bit of coaching about flirting, because flirting is very important, and some people are too shy to flirt on a first date. I don't mean like take off your clothes kind of flirting. I mean like touching a little bit, like the arm or the leg, laughing, making some jokes. So if you do that and you have a good, deep conversation, you should get to the second date. But there are times where one person likes the other, but it's not reciprocated. I always ask that people go out at least on 2 dates. We're not always our true self on that first date because we get shy or nervous, or we might have had a shitty day.
Yeah.
And so you can flirt via text to pull the person in, but if it's just not going to happen, we talk about it. It's not you. It's just not a good fit for right now. And one of the things I make people promise is that they won't ghost. So if you go on a date with someone and you're not really into them, but he's into you, I ask that you tell him there is no second date if he asks you out again, or you let me know and I'll let him know. Because we want people to move on.
So for our listeners out there, can you tell us what ghosting is?
Ghosting is this phenomenon where we pretend that we're dead. So basically, if I like you and you're not into me, I'll text you, I'll call you, I might message you on Facebook or something, and then I can see that you looked at my messages, but you just don't respond. And then I get really nervous because do you hate me? Did I do something wrong? Or maybe you died. Maybe you died. which rarely happens. But
I was going to say that's a bit sort of extreme, but
but it happens a lot, and it happens especially now that we have these dating apps. So we forget that there's actually a person there. It's just a phone number. It's just an avatar. It's just a message. And really we forget that you have a heart, you have a soul, you have a brain, you have feelings. It's terrible.
So do you think that dating apps have changed the way that people date in this day and age compared to back before smartphones?
Most definitely.
In what ways?
Oh my God, quantity. I think overall we're better off with dating apps, but we just forget you're just a number now. We swipe constantly right to see what we can hook. And then from those 20, maybe we'll have 10 conversations. Of those 10 conversations, maybe we'll have like 3 okay, let's go on a date. And of those 3, 1 will actually pan out to a date. So it's a lot of work that we kind of like slot in between our real life. Maybe we're on the toilet, maybe we're at the grocery store, maybe we're at work on a conference call. And so we're just treating people as filler. And so we start losing the personal touch.
And when you're swiping with apps, you're really basing it just solely on the way that someone looks. You're not actually really even looking at a profile or finding out any more information. And I just think that can cause problems as well, because you're not even thinking about the substance of people past the way they look. Do you agree?
Yeah, I totally agree. I've done an online survey, and all guys just look at the photo.
They don't read the little blurb you can write under Tinder. They don't read that?
No. Maybe there are some guys out there that do, but as far as my research goes, no, none. Women do spend more time, but even then, I think it's based on looks. And the more we get to know someone, the better looking they become. And so if you're just judging someone based on a photo, and FYI, you all have terrible photos. You need to get some good photos done. But we use bad photos because we think we look good, but it's because we have a reference point of when we look amazing and when we look so-so. So when we have this like above average photo, we're like, okay, I look great. But for someone who has no idea about your history, the challenges you've gone through, the successes that you've had, your ups and your downs, they just have one point of reference. They're not good unless you're a total babe, like a Baywatch kind of babe.
Can you tell me what makes a good photo then? What should people be thinking about with their photos?
Okay, so a good photo, you got to look at the camera.
Yeah.
No bathroom selfies, no gym selfies. Guys, wear a shirt. Don't pose with a fish. Don't pose with a tiger. You want to look at the camera. You want to make sure your face is not obscured. No shadows, and your face is in the frame. I don't know. What else can I say?
We're going to look at my Tinder photos.
Let's do that.
We're going to look at my Tinder photos, and you're going to rate them for me. Picture number 1. Now, this is straight out of the hairdresser. I'm still at the hairdresser with a new hairdo.
Yeah, it looks good. You're looking, you're smiling.
And I think it's probably even maybe possibly done with one of those apps that filter me.
Oh.
Is that a good idea? It makes me look a little younger than I really am.
Yeah, it's a good first photo. Okay, that's a cute photo too.
This one's at the beach. I'm wearing my glasses, it's side on, and I've actually got some lipstick on. I very rarely wear makeup.
I would choose that photo over the first photo because your head is tilted, and research has shown that guys like tilting.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's because the more interested we are, like you're tilting your head right now.
Oh, right. Yeah, I am.
So the more interested we are, the more we tilt.
Oh, I like that.
And for women, it's good when we tilt like this and like up. So we kind of look like smaller and more diminutive.
Oh, I never looked like that, being 6 foot tall. This photo is me dressed in 1920s flapper outfit with a wig, also on a tilt.
On a tilt, yeah. So all 3 photos have been close-ups of you. They don't really show me anything about your life or your hobbies.
Yeah.
So maybe it could be one of you doing, that's cool.
Scuba diving.
Or maybe you doing a podcast. That would be good. Okay, so they're all close-ups.
Yeah.
Guys will wonder what's happening everywhere else. So you want to have...
so there's no full body shots.
Yeah, you want a full body shot.
That's deliberate.
Okay, but guys will wonder...
Right, okay.
And you look good. So
Thanks.
So you want to show it. So they might think like, maybe she's in a wheelchair. Maybe she only has one leg, or maybe she's...
What, they go to that extreme, do they?
Yeah, or maybe she's obese, like you have a nice face, but what's wrong with the rest of the body?
Okay.
So they might swipe left because they
okay, so I only have one hobby shot and no body shots. Yeah. So that's what I need to change.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I'll get onto that.
You're in the frame. You're smiling. Nothing's being obscured, so that's all good.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any tigers or fish.
No tigers or fish. Yeah, and no bathrooms.
No bathrooms. No bathroom selfies. Do you think online dating or matchmakers or just getting out there and meeting people are all successful ways to find love, or do you think that your method, where you're actually doing all of this sort of research and background work and connecting people, works better?
You should always use a matchmaker.
and we'll give you a number at the end.
But yeah, if you can talk to people, that is the best way, because it doesn't matter if you're using a matchmaker or online dating, it's still focused on the photo. Even though I'll have a long profile for you, they'll still zoom in on the photo and they'll only have one reference point. But if you approach someone, they get everything, and that's the best thing. So if you can talk to strangers, all the best. Matchmakers are awesome because we're doing all the legwork for you, but then online dating, it's free, but you're spending like hours and hours for little. So I think it would be like 1, 2, 3.
So getting out
matchmaker,
there, right?
and
online dating. And then why do you recommend that we talk to strangers? And if somebody's feeling a little bit shy or nervous, have you got some tips for how to go about approaching strangers and talking to them?
Yeah, so everyone's afraid of rejection. We're not afraid of the actual rejecting, but that feeling, that pang, that feeling of self-worth hurts us. It doesn't kill, but it smarts for a very long time. So I understand why people don't want to do that. I do coaching, and I get people to do exercises, and so it starts out with just saying good morning to people in the morning. If they say good morning back to you, great, but if they don't, you'll feel like a loser for a second, but then it'll go away. And the more you do it, the less you'll care.
Oh, so it's baby steps. So you just start saying good morning or hello as you're walking past people in the coffee shop or heading into the mall and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And then the next step would be actually chatting to someone in a bar?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Straight to the end game. Okay, so what would the next step be?
So the first week, I tell people you say hello or good morning to 3 people every day, ideally of the opposite sex, if you're straight. And then the next week, it's to say a compliment. Or to say, hey, nice shirt, where'd you get it from? I love your hair. Or I love your bag, or anything, or just to start a conversation like, what's wrong with the MTR today? That's the second week.
That's really interesting, because if I think about when I talk to strangers, it's often other women, and it's often other women that I'll compliment. I love your dress, or your hair looks great, or, I do actually do that, but I don't do it with people of the opposite gender. Mm-hmm. So that's another good tip.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's easier to talk to older people to kind of.
What do you mean older people? People older than me?
Yeah, because they're like, I think just like easygoing. I think they'll reply. They're like an easier target. Mm. And then you like get younger and better looking, or
so the younger and better looking they are, the more sort of out of reach they are.
Kind of, or maybe they're not out of reach, and that's air quotes, but we feel that they're out of reach, they're out of our league, you know, like there's people that we think are, oh my god, why would they ever want to talk to me? But who knows, maybe they do. But you want to like feel the rejection little bit by little bit, and the more you do it, the less it'll hurt. So then you can go for the harder targets, which are the babes.
Oh, okay. So start off slowly. And so then after you've started giving a few people compliments, then do we chat to people in bars, or is there still another step?
No. Then you go for the jugular. Or it doesn't have to be at a bar. It could be at the bus stop. You see a handsome person reading The Economist, so you can like go up to them and strike up a conversation. Sometimes you can ask for directions. There's a lot of icebreakers.
Would you recommend that women actually ask guys out? Or do you think you should leave that to the guy, and is that a little bit old-fashioned and sexist?
Yeah. Women should totally make the first move. It's ballsy and it's sexy because it takes so much courage. Yeah. In women, we take such a passive approach to our love life. Although it's so important to us, makes the first move.
Oh, okay. That's really good advice. So I'm going to go out and ask somebody on my way home out for a coffee.
Cool.
With the dating apps, do you think there's a different way the generations use it? Like for the younger sort of 20-somethings, it's much more about hooking up and they're not looking for relationships and that's what they're specifically using it for. But then the older generation are perhaps more open to finding relationships, or do you think it varies just on the individual?
I don't think it's a generational thing. When I did that online survey, half the guys said that they were looking just for casual dating or sex. It was sex, sorry. They were looking for sex, and the other half were looking for a committed relationship. And I don't think it's any different. I didn't split it in ages, but I don't think it's any different. I've talked to older people that are looking to get laid. I've talked to younger people that are looking to get married.
Okay, that's so interesting. Yeah. It's got nothing to do with the generations.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what constitutes a good date?
Ooh, that's a good question. I was going to create a first date bingo. There's a few things that you need on a first date to make sure that you get a second date. First one is a little bit of touching. The second one is a little bit of laughter. So jokes, you need a little bit of complimenting. And the last one is you need good, meaningful conversation. So you can talk about work, you can talk about your last trip to Bali, but you're never going to get a second date if you just talk about that. You need to ask questions that show your vulnerability, and that will give your date the confidence to be vulnerable with you. And when there's that shared vulnerability, you get that connection, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but can you give me an example of what might be a sort of conversation starter that can get you to something more deep and meaningful?
Sure. So just say you're talking about work, which is your typical beginning conversation. That's fine. But then you can ask, is this what you imagined that you would be when you were a child? Did you imagine that you'd be an investment banker? Would you imagine that you were going to be a teacher? And then that can segue into a conversation about your childhood dreams or about the career that you really would have liked to have pursued, but your parents didn't want you to. And so the filial responsibility in you said, okay, I'll just become a banker. So that's a suggestion.
And one of the other things that I have thought about in dating and relationships is that if you ask people more questions about themselves, then that's a way to forge more of a connection. Mm-hmm. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Rather than just talking about yourself all the time.
For sure. You don't want to talk about yourself the entire time. But sometimes asking too many questions, when the person isn't replying back to you, you should dial it back and start talking about yourself. So you can give a statement or an observation, maybe about yourself or maybe about what's happening in the room, and then bring it back down to something deep and meaningful. For the men that are listening, you know that you are doing a good job when the woman is using the word I. So women in general don't like to speak about themselves unless they're feeling comfortable. If they're talking about themselves, that means they're comfortable with you or they're completely self-involved.
And what about body language? What are some tips with body language when you know you're doing well? I mean, obviously you've mentioned the touching. So if people are kind of touching and flirting or stuff like that, what else? So
welcoming body language would be opened. So you're kind of like being vulnerable, like physically. Rejecting body language is like my arms against my chest or my hands clasped. Leaning in is good. Leaning out, not so good. If we're at a bar, we want to angle ourselves kind of like we are right now. If we're completely straight and just angling our face, that's not a good sign.
Right. And also, what about touching hair or flirtatious body movements?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, preening is and that's a really good indicator if the person is feeling comfortable with you. You can always preen your date. So if I say a piece of lint or your tie is a little bit skewed and you fix it, you're not only touching them, but you're helping them look their best.
Oh, that's a nice little tip as well. I wonder if people are jotting things down at home. I think it's a good idea. Quickly, we'll give you a second to get your pen and paper. Hong Kong Confidential is brought to you by Teresa's Turkish Towels. Teresa imports the finest 100% Turkish cotton towels that dry very quickly, making them perfect for Hong Kong's humid climate. Say goodbye to the traditional smelly and stinky towels and try the colourful and fresh selections available online or in Teresa's One Chai store. Use the promo code CONFIDENTIAL online or mention this podcast when you visit in person to receive $100 off your entire order when you order 2 or more towels. With 100% satisfaction guaranteed or your money back, the only thing you've got to lose are the musty smells that permeate traditional terry towels. Visit www.hkturkish.com in order to get the address and directions to Teresa's semi-hidden location. You've written an ebook. Can you remind me what it's called?
It's called Winning the Dating Game, How to Find Love in Hong Kong.
I had a quick read of it today and it's awesome. There's so many fantastic tips and this is an ebook, so it's available online.
For free.
For free. That's amazing. Why have you done it for free? Just to help people?
I guess, yeah, it's just to be helpful.
Yeah.
It was written by Valentina, who you've had as a guest, and me. And yeah, I don't know. Why is it free? Why not?
Yeah, good on you. And I mean, we like to do things, service to the community. It's good for the soul.
Yeah, I want people to find love. So.
Yeah. So in your book, you talk about recommending good icebreakers for people when they first meet. Can you give me an idea of some good icebreakers?
Sure. So you're talking like we're at a coffee shop and we're complete strangers?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if the person's good looking, they probably know that they're good looking. So you don't want to just focus on their looks. You want to focus on something else. So it can be, I guess, what they're wearing, but that's not very deep. But maybe what they're reading, what they're drinking. You can say that they remind you of someone if that's the truth. You can ask them if they come here often, which is kind of cheesy, but it still works. So you want to focus on something that's going to make them feel seen. And if the person's good looking, they know that they're good looking and they might be tired of people saying that they're good looking. So focus on something that is a little bit more meaningful. You can also ask for advice or you can ask for help. You can ask a question. You don't have to, you can ask for directions or you can ask for help. Like, what should I order? What are you drinking? It looks good.
And in a way, doing something like that can give you a little indication of whether there's interest or not, because you can then see how that person engages with you before you go to the next level.
Yeah, totally. Yeah? By the same token, you don't want to assume that if their first reaction is a bit lukewarm, that they're not into you. Because sometimes we're in shock when someone talks to us because it doesn't happen that often. So, have a few exchanges, like 3 or 4 or 5 back and forth. If by the 5th they're still not feeling you, then you can exit. But sometimes it takes a while for people to get warmed up.
Oh, okay. I hadn't thought of that, but that makes complete sense. So you also talk about people pleasers in your book. What's a people pleaser? And then you have this exercise where people need to say no. Mm-hmm. Is it 3 times a day? Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit, or once a day, the people pleasers need to say no. So tell me, what's a people pleaser and why do you recommend that they practice saying no?
Well, a people pleaser, I guess we think of them as women, but men can do it too. They just say yes to everything, even if they're not comfortable, and it gets them in situations that are not useful to them. And it's hard to say no, especially if it's someone superior or someone that you think you need to say yes to. But it's important to learn how to say no and stick to your guns. And yeah, you don't want to be asked on a date and you don't want to go on a date. And so it's good to say no, or, if you want to go home with me, things like that. You don't want to find yourself in situations that are not comfortable. So it's important to learn how to say no, and with conviction.
Do you have any recommendations for your clients for sex on the first date? Do you, is that somewhere that you go?
Yeah, I don't recommend it. If you're just looking for sex, do it. But if you're looking for a long-term committed relationship, I would suggest don't have sex on the first date. Of course, you're 2 adults, do what you want to do. But personally, even if you really want to, play with that tension and ride it out. And
then what benefits does not having sex on the first date have, do you think, for forging a relationship?
Yeah, so tension is really important at the beginning. When we get something too easily, it loses value. And so when you have that tension and you kind of pull it out. Then there's more anticipation, there's more excitement, and you just, what is it? The faster they rise, the harder they fall. You don't really want that in a relationship.
Right, so you're building that kind of desire.
Yeah.
Can you give us some tips on making good conversation with people?
Look for questions that you think are deep and meaningful. You can go to my website and I have a list and links that will take you. It's all free. And I always suggest find 6 that you would be comfortable answering, 6 questions that you'd be comfortable answering, and then think about different ways to segue into that question. Because unlike what are you drinking or what do, you can't just throw out, if your house is on fire and you saved everyone, but you've got time to take one personal possession, what would it be? You can't just throw that out randomly. You got to segue into it so you don't look weird.
So you've got to say, well, when I was young, there was a house fire.
If it's true. But yeah.
Okay, so you don't recommend lying to get yourself to these questions?
No, hopefully you don't have to lie.
You're actually suggesting prepare your questions in advance so you know what sort of interesting things you're going to ask on the date rather than letting it evolve organically?
You're going to let it evolve organically, but it's good to be a little bit prepared, read the news, read their profile, remember what was cool about them. So there is some preparation that I think you should go into before you go into the date. But no, I don't want you to have a script that you follow. That would not be sexy.
I read in your book that you recommend power posing to build confidence. Can you tell me a bit about what that is and how that works?
Yeah, so there's this professor from, I think, Harvard, Amy Cuddy, and she did some research on power posing. And it's basically accepting or welcoming body language that makes you feel powerful. And she suggests doing that for 2 minutes before anything important, like a job interview or a date. And the research that they've done is that when you do that for 2 minutes, people actually notice your energy. You have more presence. You have more authority. And confidence is really sexy.
And so what is a power pose? Is that like having your guns up?
Basically.
And doing a bit of sort of stretching or standing up strong and tall or doing Wonder Woman poses.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Strut your stuff.
For the listener out there, I've just mimed all of these things. I wish it was video. Yeah, because confidence is very sexy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And that old saying, fake it till you make it.
Right. She says, fake it till you become it. And I bet you, Julie, a guy that has tons of confidence but is 4'6", you would still fall for him. You would get over it, you think. Totally.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Oh, look, maybe we can put it to the test. Yeah, overcoming deal breakers is an interesting one, isn't it? Because that's something I've had all of my life and I really think that I could never change it. But I think for people to have more options, and I could be missing out on something really amazing just because I won't date somebody who's 5'10".
Yeah, you could be. So when I do the deal breakers and preferences worksheet with my matchmaking clients, I always ask them why. So, why does he have to be taller? And your deal breaker is height. Why? And then you'll give me your answer and then why? Give me the other answer and then why? And then at the end, if it's still important, okay, but I always ask people, a lot of people say, I want to be protected when it comes to height. And so then I ask, protected from what? And everyone always says, a bear. A bear in Hong Kong? Okay, good luck with that.
Do they really say a bear?
Yeah, I don't know why. And then I always say, well, just say he only had one arm. Would you still date him even though he couldn't protect you from a bear because he only had one arm? And they always say, yeah. And so one arm, 6 inches shorter, what's the difference?
I think for me, I don't want to feel bigger than my partner. Okay. It's not about protection. I can totally protect myself.
From
but
a bear.
Yeah, look out. But I like to feel smaller and more feminine, I think, with somebody bigger than me. Yeah. It makes me feel smaller. And I think my size is highlighted in Hong Kong because this is a city of Asian people and smaller people. Yeah. So being 6 foot tall and being quite heavy, I mean, I'm not massive, but I'm big. it's highlighted. Like I do feel overly big here, but I've always had this feeling of wanting to be with somebody that makes me feel smaller or makes me feel. I think I feel too masculine or too big if I'm with someone smaller. And I did once date a guy, although we never really went out anywhere, that was an inch or two shorter than me. And it was fine, but I didn't really like it. Okay. Yeah. So I did try it once. Okay. Anyway, sorry. This is not about me.
No, but can I ask you a question?
Yeah, please.
So, like, about being feminine, you know, maybe there's other ways for you to feel feminine in and of itself, so you don't have to depend on someone else to make you feel feminine.
Yeah, I mean, there certainly is in the way that I dress or the way that I present myself or the way that I carry myself, all of that. Definitely I could do that, but that's not necessarily who I am. Okay. I'm sort of quite masculine, I think, in the way that I operate and present myself. Well, I don't know if that's fair, but I'm not a very girly girl, put it that way. But it's just more about the comfort, the feeling comfortable. I would feel uncomfortable and self-conscious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course it does. Yeah.
And, you know, I've got lots of very short, small friends who are like, oh, get over it and date somebody shorter. And it's like, would you? And they're like, no way. And they're 5'2". Do you know what I mean? It's, you know, I think it's very easy for shorter people to make these statements and say, well, of course you can. But, you know, I've got friends who are 5'3" and they could date a guy 5'5" and he'd still be taller. Right. But for me, I'd be nearly a foot taller than, you know, so... You know, I could be flexible and maybe an inch shorter, maybe. Okay. No, I couldn't.
My husband is shorter than me.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Tell me about that when you first met.
Yeah. So he's 9 centimeters shorter than me. So like half a foot.
What? Oh, my gosh. See, you're my role model. So this is obviously was never an issue for you?
It was a little bit of an issue at the beginning, but then I remember telling myself, Ariadna, you've never cared about looks and height is just a look. Get over it. And it took me a while to get over. Like I had my ways of looking smaller, but then I did get over it. And he's got so much confidence that it's not even an issue when I wear high heels or platforms.
So 9 centimeters shorter.
Yeah. I looked at his passport.
Wow. And how did you meet him?
I met him. I was living in Canada and I was in Hong Kong for a business trip and we were in a meeting together. And then I ran into him at his conference the next day and we bonded over the fruit salad because it was so darn good. It was at the Four Seasons. And then a year later we started dating long distance.
And was that one of your blockers to start with, his height, or was that...
No. No. I didn't even notice that he was... I could tell that he was shorter than me, but no.
And can you tell me what your deal breakers are in a relationship?
Okay, so I don't have deal breakers per se, but I did have like 2 criteria. I wanted someone funny, and I wanted someone with whom I felt safe, like stable, safe. Yeah. And actually I've read a book called The Science of Happily Ever After, and the author, Taito Shiro, says that you can only have 3 deal breakers. Any more than 3, and it becomes statistically impossible to find someone who matches it. So that made me happy because I had 2. So okay. I guess I had a bigger pool.
I think my deal breakers are somebody shorter than me and someone who's an alcoholic or drug addict. I don't want that. But I think that's about it.
Nothing else?
Not really.
Cool.
I know. Don't really want to date an Australian. I'll edit that out.
Yeah. I've never been much into Argentinians either, actually.
Isn't that funny? Maybe I won't edit that out. Why do people want to date outside their culture?
Well, I grew up in Canada. So Argentina, although I was born there, it's a bit foreign to me. And Argentinians are known for having tempers and being passionate. And I'd rather have someone boring and stable
and safe,
exciting, and tempestuous.
You know, I'm probably going to end up with a short Australian, don't you?
Well, as long as he's not a drug addict or alcoholic,
then I'll be fine.
Yeah, that I can't condone.
Brilliant. Do you have an opinion on speed dating and singles mixes?
Not really. I think that they can be useful if you're asking the right questions. But if you're just going from one table to another asking, so what do you do? You're going to leave unhappy.
Do you think they still happen, or do you think that was a bit of a trend a few years ago and now speed dating's sort of gone by the wayside because of these apps?
Yeah, I don't think they're so common anymore, but people do that. Yeah, I still see them organized.
And what about singles mixes? Once again, I guess you have to go prepared.
Yeah.
And really try and connect with people.
Yeah, you should definitely prepare. It's not a job interview, but it could be more important than a job interview because you're going to possibly be your life partner. Yeah, those single mixers are great. Because like I said earlier, meeting people in person is the best way to find a significant other.
And then that's really about thinking about what you really enjoy and going out and doing it, whether it's hiking or going to art exhibitions or joining clubs and things like that. That's really a good thing to do to meet people, isn't it?
It is.
Rather than clubbing? Yeah, go on.
Oh, clubbing. Sure, that's your thing. However, if you're a woman and you want a man, go to where the men are. So you're not going to
cigar clubs?
Well, like you're not going to meet a dude at the spa. Or at the shopping mall.
Yeah. Or even at the art class. All my art classes are all women.
Right. Or pottery. It's like Pierre, my husband, he did pottery and he was the only guy. And he was married, so he was not available. And so for men, they gotta go where the women are and the women have to go to where the men are. So like, I suggest like maybe like a whiskey tasting or like diving, get your paddy or I don't know, go-karting. There's lots of things that dudes like to do. So yeah, you have to, if you only have you have finite free time, don't take flamenco classes if your priority is meeting a guy.
Because this is very good advice.
You're not going to find
So we've all got to go out. What's that game called where you shoot each other out?
Laser tag.
Yeah, we've all got to go play laser tag.
Yeah, it might not be your age range, but you got the right idea.
Okay, sorry, I forgot my age. So what would you recommend for someone in their 50s?
Well, like, wine or whiskey tasting or art exhibitions, or you like theater, so improv classes, or going to stand-up comedy and talking to other people who are in the audience.
Great. Yeah, I've jotted all of those down. This is like a free session. Thank you so much. And the other question I was going to ask you is, if somebody's going on a first date, what do you recommend? Do you think that they should go and have drinks or dinner or coffee, or should they get out and do something active?
That's a great question. Active dates are awesome, but they're better if you were introduced through a mutual friend or through a matchmaker. If you met online and this is your first time meeting, you might actually not have offline chemistry and you might hate each other. And if you go on a hike, let's say, and it's 3 hours, you're kind of stuck. So do something easy, like maybe walk up to the peak or walk around Tamar Park or go for an ice cream. Something easy where you can book if there's just, you're not feeling it. Dinners, it's so boring. You're just sitting there looking at each other, eating. I think you're really setting yourself up for failure by going on dinner dates.
So would you say to somebody, like maybe the first date, meet for a coffee or get an ice cream or do something that can be short and then
cheap.
And then if you're not interested, exit stage left politely and kindly. Yeah. And then in your second date, plan going to the beach or going for the hike or rollerblading or scuba diving or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. Yeah, you want something cheap and easy. Because you don't want to invest too much money because we're going on so many dates nowadays. It's quite the investment. So an ice cream, a coffee, that's,
Who's going on so many dates these days? I'm certainly not.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm doing something wrong. I'm in the wrong country.
We'll work on that later.
Okay, thanks. And then if people do not feel the connection, like you've said, don't ghost, and you've said you want people to be respectful, but how would you recommend that somebody gets out of a situation that they're not feeling the connection or it's actually uncomfortable? What can they do to exit?
If they're just not feeling it, I think honesty is fine. I'm just not feeling it. I don't feel chemistry. You don't have to go into details.
You're not attractive or you don't have to insult people.
Yeah. But if you feel uncomfortable, like you feel in danger or you feel the guy is creepy, then do whatever you have to do and get out of there.
Yeah. Go to the toilet and disappear.
Yeah, totally. Don't feel bad. A first date, again, there's so many of them and it's so low investment. if it's after a first date, you can ghost. I think if you have 3 or more dates, then you kind of owe it to the person to give a reason. But if you've met online, if you've gone on a couple of dates and you're not feeling it, just, disappear. We don't have to give everyone a lot of effort. Unless you use a matchmaker, then I'll do the breaking up for you.
Yeah. Oh, do you do that?
Yeah. I'll get in there and I'll talk on
that's cool.
your behalf, because I want everyone to be on the same page. But if it's just a random person that you met online and there's just nothing there, or they make you feel creepy, get out. And
as the matchmaker, you've already vetted them, so they're unlikely to be creepy and they're unlikely to be a serial killer. Which is, there's a risk with online dating.
For
and,
sure.
there's a lot of scams and there's a lot of people that are put in danger. So have you got any tips for safety for online dating?
Sure. So for the matchmaker, I always ask for the Hong Kong ID number and proof of residential address. I keep that all on file just in case. So everyone's legit, and most people come to me through a referral. But if you're doing the online thing, tell your friends where you're going. Don't go to his house.
Go somewhere public.
Yeah, do something during the daytime. And don't drink.
Because, you become more vulnerable if you get drunk, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very good advice as well. So are you mainly a full-time matchmaker now? Do you have any, and you've written this ebook, is there anything else that you do within the company?
So I do coaching, like first date, confidence, conversation, and also a bit of like cross-cultural coaching, because I have some Asian female clients that want to date Western men. They don't have to be Caucasian, but like Western educated, no matter what nationality they are, but sometime outside of Asia. So they have a more worldly perspective. And so it's like showing them how Westerners flirt and communicate. It's a little bit different.
And they've got to sort of understand cultural expectations because they're quite different, aren't they? You don't see big burly Aussie blokes carrying girls' handbags with their dogs in them and holding the umbrellas over them and things like that. So the way that people interact are very different culturally, aren't they?
Flirting as well.
So that would be quite fun and funny to try to get that across to them, yeah?
It's interesting. Yeah, it's been cool, and I haven't seen anyone else do that.
So can you give me a little bit of a snippet into what's the difference between Western flirting and an Asian flirting?
Sure. So, like, according to my clients, if they go on a date, they'll just treat it as if they're going, let's say they're going out for dinner, they'll treat it as if it's kind of like an acquaintance from work. They'll just talk, small talk. There's no flirting, there's no laughing, there's no touching. And so when they walk away, they might feel something for that person, but because there was no flirting or touching or laughing, chances are that person's not going to feel anything for them, and they'll just say there's no chemistry. But maybe there would have been if there had been some flirting. So it's just to get them comfortable flirting a little bit and being a little bit more playful so that they're able to
connect.
Yeah, connect and like fan the flames.
Nice. And have you had success with this?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. It's been really good actually.
Oh, that's really good. So you've had good feedback from these matches.
Yeah.
That's really good. So, Ariadna, thank you so much for meeting with me today. How can people get in touch with you and find your ebook if they want to?
People can go to my website, matchedate.com, or you can Google Hong Kong Matchmaker, and hopefully I'll be there. So, matchedate.com. I'm on WeChat, XO Ariadna, and social media.
And the ebook?
You can find that on my website. I guess it's matchedate.com/ebook. It's a hyphen.
Okay, great. So thank you so much for meeting me today. It's been really nice having this, my own personal dating session. And I think there's lots of great information for the listener out there. And I think that you might inspire a little bit of change and a little bit of people going out and making a bit more effort and getting their flirt on. So it's been great to meet you, and thank you so much.
Thank you. The pleasure's all mine. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the end of another Hong Kong Confidential podcast. I'm Jules Hannaford. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you'll be with me again next week. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please can you go to iTunes to rate and review it. I would really appreciate your feedback. You can email me at jules@hongkongconfidential.net and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hong Kong Confidential. If you'd like to hit me up on Twitter, it's at Jules Hannaford. I would love to hear from you.